This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Friday, November 15th, 2024. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Donald Trump taps RFK Jr. to head up Health and Human Services. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
The FBI believes it may have stopped a 9/11-style terrorist attack in the U.S. I'm Clayton Neville.
The satirical news outlet The Onion is the winning bidder in the bankruptcy auction for the InfoWars platform. I'm Jackie Quinn.
The Justice Department says jail conditions in Georgia's Fulton County violate detainees' rights.
Housing units are flooded.
I'm Shelley Adler.
On Wall Street, the Trump rally fizzled, but Disney's shares were a bright spot. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
A first-in-the-nation plan, tolls for drivers in parts of New York City.
Business owners at the struggling corner where George Floyd was murdered are suing the city. I'm Haya Panjwani.
All ahead on America in the Morning. President-elect Donald Trump continues to make waves with some of his cabinet picks, this time announcing he plans to nominate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to head the Department of Health and Human Services. John Stolnis has the story from Washington.
In a post on Truth Social, Trump said RFK Jr. would end the chronic disease epidemic and make America great and healthy again. On the campaign trail a couple weeks ago, Trump said RFK Jr. would play a significant role in his administration.
Let me tell you, he's a great guy, RFK, and he's going to do pretty much what he wants as far as I'm concerned.
Republican Senator-elect Jim Banks on RFK's belief of a connection between childhood vaccines and autism.
I imagine this will be a big topic of discussion in the confirmation hearings, but remember, it's Congress that makes policy and works with the president, President Trump, to carry out his agenda, and the secretary will be on hand to execute that agenda. So I feel very comfortable with RFK Jr. having a significant seat at the table.
Trump says Kennedy will target drugs, food additives, and chemicals as well. Dr. Mandy Cohen, director of the CDC, told the Associated Press she was concerned about the selection, saying she didn't want the country to go backwards and see children and adults suffer and lose their lives in order to remind us that vaccines work. Trump also let it slip at an event in Mar-a-Lago that North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum would be his choice to head the Department of the Interior.
So I won't tell you his name. It might be something like Burgum. He's from North Dakota. He's going to be announced for a very big position. So everybody's waiting. There he is. Hi, Doug. And we're going to do things with energy and with land, interior, that is going to be incredible.
Trump also announced former Congressman Doug Collins would be his choice to lead the Veterans Affairs Department. Collins is a chaplain in the U.S. Air Force Reserve Command. Controversy continues to swirl around his pick for Attorney General, now former Congressman Matt Gaetz, who resigned his seat just days before the House Ethics Committee was due to release a report on allegations of improper sexual relations with multiple underage women. Trump attorney Alina Habba, rumored to be in the running for communications director, was asked on Fox News if Trump would consider polling a nominee like Gaetz.
President Trump, I don't think, would nominate somebody and put them on the front running if he wasn't going to stand behind them. These are not people with new dirt and information. He knows who these people are.
Trump has suggested the next Senate should allow for recess appointments if Democrats try to block some of his nominees. Newly elected Senate Majority Leader for the next Congress, John Thune, tells Fox News he's open to that possibility.
All options are on the table, including recess appointments. Hopefully it doesn't get to that, but we'll find out fairly quickly whether the Democrats want to play ball or not.
John Stolnis, Washington.
Federal investigators arrest a Houston man who allegedly planned to commit a 9/11-style attack in the United States. Correspondent Clayton Neville has the latest on the story from Texas.
The charges were announced by Alamdar Hamdani, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Texas.
A one-count indictment against Anas Saeed for attempting to provide material support or resources to a designated foreign terrorist organization, namely ISIS.
The 28-year-old Saeed was arrested at his apartment last week when FBI agents executed a warrant and found multiple pro-Hamas messages and videos.
We've taken a suspected terrorist off the streets of Houston, Texas. Our early investigation determined Saeed frequently viewed ISIS literature and other online propaganda.
FBI Special Agent in Charge Douglas Williams said even more concerning than that.
Investigators with our JTTF learned Saeed was searching for ways to commit violent acts in the United States, on our soil, and right here in Houston, Texas.
The special agent said Saeed had confessions.
He admitted to discussing how best to conduct an attack on local military recruiting centers. He admitted to wanting to use explosives to commit a mass killing here in Houston. He bragged that he would commit a 9/11 style attack if he only had the resources. And he expressed the desire to join the U.S. military just so he could commit an act once he was inside their ranks.
Saeed's accused of letting suspected ISIS operatives stay with him at his apartment. He faces up to 20 years in federal prison if convicted. I'm Clayton Neville.
Today's top stories are brought to you by Sleep Number. Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed? It's the only bed that lets you make each side firmer or softer whenever you want. Save 40% on the Sleep Number Special Edition smart bed. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com. Surprising winner in the bid for InfoWars. That's when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Thanks for listening. We've got rain in the west and clearing conditions in the east. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
After a Thursday that brought some rain to areas from the central and eastern Great Lakes to parts of the southeast and the mid-Atlantic, today promises a lot less in terms of wet weather as the storm slides to the southeast and off the North Carolina coastline. This feature will intensify once offshore, meaning intermittent rain from southern Maryland to far southeastern Virginia and eastern North Carolina, but outside of showers and drizzle lingering over portions of the Ohio Valley, as well as rain and drizzle pivoting into Maine, areas from northern and eastern Pennsylvania through the rest of New England look dry. As the intensifying offshore storm interacts with high pressure moving eastward over the Midwest, though, strong winds will develop through the day. These winds will lead to another day of critical fire risk from southern and central New England into parts of the Mid-Atlantic through Saturday, with very low humidity and still dry ground, even in some places that picked up some light rain Thursday night, favoring the rapid development and spread of brush fires through the start of the weekend. Places from the southeast across the Great Lakes and into the High Plains have a dry end to the work week in store as well, with a mild Friday expected from the Dakotas into the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. The most active weather for the day will be centered over the west, where a storm powering across the interior will mean increasing coverage for snow from western Montana and much of Idaho into Oregon's Blue Mountains and southward to the Sierra Nevada as rain showers continue in and around coastal Oregon and Washington. Through Saturday, the snowy side of the storm can bring 3 to 6 inches of new accumulation to some of the higher peaks. In Dallas, expect sunshine today and a high of 72. For Pittsburgh, morning fog gives way to mostly cloudy skies and a much milder day with a spotty shower and a high of 58. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. At a bankruptcy sale, the news satire site The Onion is the winning bidder for the InfoWars network. Alex Jones, not happy about it. Here's Correspondent Jackie Quinn.
I just got word 15 minutes ago that my lawyers and folks met with the U.S. trustee over our bankruptcy this morning, and they said they're shutting us down even without a court order. This morning, the Connecticut Democrats with The Onion newspaper bought us.
A gun safety group says the satirical news outlet The Onion is the winning bidder in the bankruptcy auction for the InfoWars platform.
It's just poetic justice.
John Feinblatt, the president of the group Everytown for Gun Safety, created after the shooting deaths of children and educators at the Sandy Hook Elementary School in 2012. The families are part of this transaction, turning Alex Jones's InfoWars platform into a gun safety site.
We expect them to take our content and turn it into the kind of stories that The Onion is so famous for.
Jones owes the Sandy Hook families more than $1 billion, found guilty of defamation, calling the school massacre a hoax.
Painful, cruel misinformation.
Alex Jones was still broadcasting when news of the sale broke and was said to have appeared to be distraught. I'm Jackie Quinn.
A disturbing report on inmate conditions has led the Justice Department to come down hard on Georgia's Fulton County Jail. Correspondent Shelley Adler reports.
U.S. Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights Kristen Clark says conditions at the Fulton County Jail are dangerous and unsanitary.
Housing units are flooded from broken toilets. Roaches, rodents, and pests abound. Standing water exposed wiring, and vermin.
As far as safety goes, there were 314 stabbings and over 1,000 assaults last year.
The Fulton County Jail had as many stabbings in a single month as the Miami-Dade County Jail had all year.
Clark noted that the report provides basic remedial actions and said the Justice Department is ready to work with the county to address the problems identified. I'm Shelley Adler.
In sports, it's week 11 of 18 in the NFL. And from Thursday Night Football, the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Washington Commanders 26-18. Coming up, mortgage rates back above 7. U.S. dollar rises post-election. Business news is next. America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome in this Friday. You're with America in the Morning. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments has a team of specialists in investing, financial planning, estate planning, and more. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after the Trump rally fizzled yesterday, the Dow dropping 200 points. Fed Chair Jay Powell signaled there's no rush to cut interest rates, especially with inflation ticking slightly higher. Markets are still near record highs, though.
We don't see a cheap market right now, but we think that investors should continue to leg into markets. And you're going to get some volatility here as the market reacts to some of the policy moves as it gets ready for the new year.
Regions Wealth's Alan McKnight on CNBC. Bitcoin held around 88,000 yesterday. Coffee hit its highest level since September of 2011. Climate change is hitting producers hard, and you could feel that when you buy your coffee. Gold is on pace for its worst week since June of 2021. Shares of Hims and Hers had their worst day ever yesterday.
Amazon announcing Prime members can access new upfront pricing to treat 5 common conditions like men's hair loss. Hims and Hers stock dropping 25% as a result.
CNBC's Kelly Evans. The yield on the 10-year Treasury is at its highest since last July. Mortgage rates are back above 7%. Mortgages loosely follow the 10-year Treasury. They're not impacted directly by any Fed rate cuts. Those are overnight lending rates. They're short-term. Mortgages are very long-term debt. Ford has been fined $165 million by NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, for slow walking a recall related to defective rear cameras in vehicles. The U.S. dollar has strengthened since the election, rising the most in years against a basket of other currencies. And that strength means, say, if you're traveling to Canada, maybe for the holidays, at least this morning, your $1 American dollar is now worth $1.40 north of the border. Disney actually had a really strong quarter. Its theme parks did better after 2 quarters of issues. Disney shares were up 6% yesterday. They had their best day since last spring. The Disney Plus streaming service actually swung to a profit. Investors love that. But CNBC Mad Money host Jim Cramer says he's watching the parks and the boats.
I think that there's far more to do with the weather that people don't talk about when it comes to Florida. I think that Bob Iger would tell you, lay off the theme parks. They're a gem. And then we've got these big ships coming up. I know people might think that that's not that important, new ship coming in. But if you look at Royal Caribbean, you look at Norwegian Cruise, you say to yourself, you know what? If you have a ship, you can make a long-term projection.
CNBC Mad Money host Jim Cramer. On today's watch list, we get the latest read on retail sales for October. The Mega Millions jackpot tonight, $387 million.
All right, thank you, CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, New York governor approves tolls for drivers in New York City. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. From New York City, a controversial plan creating congestion toll pricing to enter parts of Manhattan has been given the approval from Governor Kathy Hochul, despite numerous lawsuits brought against it. Hochul, who had canceled the daily tolling plan abruptly this summer, just weeks before it was scheduled to begin, said that she would salvage the plan by reducing rates.
Ensuring our commuters can rely on safe subways and commuter trains now
and into the future. It was $15 before, and now it is $9. That is a 40% reduction.
The plan, which would be the first of its kind in the nation, has numerous opponents, including the state of New Jersey, as the large majority of that toll would be paid by Garden State residents. Unions, environmental groups, and even some Manhattan businesses are against the plan. To the state of Minnesota, where some of the businesses located on the street in Minneapolis, where George Floyd lost his life in 2020, are suing the city. Correspondent Haya Panjwani has details.
Business owners at the struggling corner where George Floyd was murdered by a Minneapolis police officer in 2020 are suing the city to demand it take over their properties and compensate them. The owners argue that the city's failure to address deterioration and crime in the neighborhood has ruined their businesses and constitutes an unlawful taking of their property without just compensation. The Minnesota Star Tribune reports they're looking for $30 million in damages. The area known as George Floyd Square has become a place of pilgrimage for social justice supporters from across the country. Local business owners are saying they haven't seen any benefit. I'm Haya Panjwani.
America in the Morning for Friday, November 15th, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer, Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour, the appointments of RFK Jr. and Matt Gaetz getting pushback from Congress.
The state of Florida suing FEMA over its hurricane response. I'm Clayton Neville.
The U.S. Senate race in Pennsylvania is heading for a recount. I'm Pamela Furr.
New numbers on declining drug-related deaths, the FDA on a prescription drug makeover, and Ford receives a hefty fine. We'll tell you why.
Microsoft may be investigated for unfair practices. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
Insurers say a bear that damaged luxury cars was actually a fake. I'm Shelley Adler.
Those stories ahead when we return after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning with that mid-November Autumn Friday forecast. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
A disturbance carving its way through the Intermountain West and into the northern plains through the start of the weekend will mean an expanding risk for snow. Today's best risk for snow extends from the Sierra Nevada of California through much of the state of Nevada, eastern Oregon, and even into western Wyoming and southwestern Montana by day's end, before reaching eastern Montana and western North Dakota through the day on Saturday. Look for a general 1 to 3 inches of snow, with 3 to 6 inches instead for the mountains, leading to the usual risk for slippery travel conditions and lowered visibility. For the rest of the West today, there can be some showers around near the coast of not only California, but also the Pacific Northwest, with cooler conditions advancing through most other parts of the West otherwise. From the high plains through most of the Tennessee Valley and the southeast, a broad zone of high pressure pushing eastward leads to dry conditions today. Expect a milder day for the upper Midwest as highs lift back into the 50s in many places, but parts of the Dakotas actually drop off a few degrees from Thursday's highs, as temperatures do remain 10 or 15 degrees above the historical average for many in the northern plains. The east turns a bit less active in terms of precipitation after what was a fairly wet and gray Thursday from the Great Lakes into the mid-Atlantic, as the culprit storm shifts off the North Carolina coast and quickly intensifies, bringing periods of rain to areas from eastern North Carolina into far southern Maryland for a time, as drizzle comes to an end over Ohio and showers gradually wind down from southwestern Pennsylvania through West Virginia. However, the story for the Northeast will become the wind, which will combine with another day of very dry conditions overall to increase the brush fire risk yet again through Saturday from southern New Jersey into southern Vermont and New Hampshire. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. President-elect Donald Trump has tabbed vaccine skeptic Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as health secretary. He also seems to be getting some bipartisan pushback from members of the Senate who want to see information about a House Ethics Panel Committee probe of alleged wrongdoing about his choice of Matt Gaetz to be the Attorney General. Washington correspondent Sagar Magani reports.
President-elect Trump says he'll nominate vaccine skeptic Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to be America's health secretary.
Toxic chemicals in our food, our medicine, in our environment, pesticides, food additives, pharmaceutical drugs, and toxic waste permeate every cell of our bodies.
Kennedy would head the massive Health and Human Services Department, which oversees everything from drug, vaccine, and food safety to Medicare.
We will make Americans healthy again.
Kennedy endorsed Trump in August after dropping his own independent presidential bid. The son of the late Attorney General is one of the world's most prominent anti-vaccine activists and has long advanced the debunked idea that vaccines cause autism.
The fact that we're considering to bring somebody on with no scientific or medical credentials, who's falsely claimed for decades that vaccines cause autism, who has, quite frankly, said just outrageous comments about science and medicine, that this person would come in to gut the NIH, I think is shameful.
During a House hearing, California Democrat Robert Garcia was aghast.
That someone that wants to gut the NIH, HHS, and other services could be put in charge of health of any kind in this country.
Senate Judiciary Committee members from both parties want to review a House Ethics Panel investigation of Attorney General designate Matt Gaetz.
The violations of law that they were investigating as a matter of House ethics are directly relevant to his appointment to this top law enforcement post. These claims involve violations of federal law for the individual who would be enforcing federal law.
The Ethics Committee has been looking into allegations against Gaetz of sexual misconduct, among other things.
The sequence and timing of Mr. Gaetz' resignation from the House raises serious questions.
The probe effectively ended when Gaetz resigned from Congress, but
we cannot allow this valuable information from a bipartisan investigation to be hidden from the American people.
Senate Judiciary Chair Dick Durbin, a Democrat, and Republican John Cornyn are among those who want to see the ethics panel's information.
I think there should not be any limitation on the Senate Judiciary Committee's investigation, including whatever the House Ethics Committee has generated.
So you want to see it?
Absolutely.
The Justice Department that Gaetz would head also looked into sex trafficking allegations against him, with no charges filed. He's denied any wrongdoing. North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis say they'll give him a fair shake.
I don't know his background. I'm going to look at it and give him a fair hearing.
Sagar Magani, Washington.
The Florida Attorney General is suing FEMA for discrimination during its hurricane relief efforts, alleging it denied aid to Trump supporters. Covering that story, Correspondent Clayton Neville.
The lawsuit comes after a series of claims that FEMA has a bias against Republicans. A FEMA official who says she was fired for avoiding houses that had Trump signs in their yards told Fox News that the agency tells its workers to avoid potential controversy.
Someone feels uncomfortable. We can't go to that home. If you have loose dogs and someone on the team is comfortable with dogs and another person is not, we can't go to that home because of safety precautions.
Marnie Washington spoke with Roland Martin Unfiltered online.
They told me verbally I was fired, but they never provided me anything in writing stating that I was fired. They all alleged that these actions were made on my own recognizances and that it was for my own political advances. However, if you look at the record, there is what we call a community trend. And unfortunately, it just so happened that the political hostility that was encountered by my team, and I was on 2 different teams during this deployment, they just so happened to have the Trump campaign signage. FEMA always preaches avoidance first and then de-escalation.
The lawsuit by Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody alleges that FEMA directed current and former employees to ignore at least 20 homes that displayed Trump signs or flags in Lake Placid, Florida.
We're seeking not only information from FEMA, but making sure if there are those within Florida who feel that they were overlooked or discriminated against because of their political views, that we have an understanding of that and that information.
The AG spoke with Newsmax.
Because look, this is what folks have been saying all along, that this administration wasn't here to serve everyone, only a few. And so as we dig in, I think there's, we're going to find that this, in fact, did happen. We're already seeing it in some of the reports in the databases.
FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell said over the weekend that what allegedly happened is a clear violation of FEMA's values and principles. She called it reprehensible. She'll testify before Congress next week. I'm Clayton Neville.
Only one of the U.S. Senate election races has yet to be finalized. The Pennsylvania contest between Democrat incumbent Senator Bob Casey and his Republican challenger David McCormick is officially heading to a recount. Pamela Furr has more on that story.
The Secretary of the Commonwealth made the announcement Wednesday that a statewide recount is legally required based on the votes, which have Casey narrowly trailing McCormick. The recount hasn't stopped McCormick, however, from declaring victory, and Casey has not conceded. State law requires the recount if the vote margin is less than 0.5%. So now the state's 67 counties begin their recounts on November 20th. They must be finished by the 26th and final results released on the 27th. The entire process is expected to cost more than $1 million, taxpayer dollars, by the way. Experts are saying they don't believe Casey would win in the recount. It also should be noted most recounts do not result in a reversal of the original outcome. In fact, according to an analysis by Fair Vote, a nonpartisan organization that researches elections, only 3 out of 36 recounts in the last 23 years resulted in reversals. I'm Pamela Furr.
When we return on America in the Morning, Giuliani's new legal troubles, Ford sued by the feds. Those stories and more after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. I'm John Trout. The number of people dying from drug overdoses in the nation has decreased. A new report by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention shows overdose deaths declined by roughly 14% between 2023 and this year. More than 108,000 people died from overdose deaths in the 12 months leading up to both June 2022 and 2023. The decline marks a notable change in overdose trends that have troubled the U.S. for decades, initially fueled by prescription drugs and later by the rise of heroin and fentanyl. Some of the states that purportedly saw the largest rates of decrease were North Carolina, Ohio, and Virginia. But in Alaska, Nevada, Oregon, Utah, and Washington, the number of overdose death reports rose. Now over to prescription drugs. We see them all the time. TV ads. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer reports the FDA is adopting new rules for how they're shown, including less distractions.
Those ever-present drug ads showing patients hiking, biking, or enjoying a day at the beach could soon have a different look. New rules require drug makers to be clearer and more direct when explaining their medications, risks, and side effects. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration spent more than 15 years crafting the new guidelines, which are designed to do away with industry practices that downplay or distract viewers from risk information. Meanwhile, while regulators were drafting those guidelines, a new trend emerged. Thousands of pharma influencers pushing drugs online with little oversight. A new bill in Congress would compel the FDA to more aggressively police such promotions on social media platforms as well. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
New legal trouble for Rudy Giuliani. 2 lawyers say they can no longer represent the former New York City mayor in a legal fight over property he's been ordered to give up to satisfy part of a $148 million defamation judgment against him. In a filing, attorney Kenneth Caruso sought permission for himself and co-counsel David Lepkowski to stop representing Giuliani. America in the Morning continues. Car maker Ford has been ordered to pay a hefty penalty to the federal government. Correspondent Haya Panjwani tells us what led to that decision.
Ford Motor Company will pay a penalty of up to $165 million to the U.S. government. That's because officials say they're moving too slowly on a recall and failing to give accurate recall information. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says the civil penalty is the second largest in its 54-year history. The agency says Ford was too slow to recall vehicles with faulty rear-view cameras, and it failed to give the agency complete information. Ford said in a statement it's committed to continuously improving safety. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Microsoft may find itself the target of yet another FTC investigation due to its anti-competitive terms for its cloud services division. Here's Chuck Palm with that in today's Tech Report.
The FTC is reportedly ready to investigate anti-competitive practices at Microsoft's cloud computing business. It's alleged that the tech giant has been illegally using their market power for its Office 365 productivity software to lure customers to use the Azure cloud service. According to a report from Reuters, the allegations are that Microsoft increases subscription fees when you use their cloud apps, then charges steep exit fees, and makes their output files incompatible with other cloud service drives. This follows after a request for comments by the FTC on the business practices of cloud computing providers and found that most of their responses received raised concerns about competition in that narrow market space. This couldn't come at a worse time for most major cloud providers as AI is driving the need for more online storage. Microsoft also reported cloud revenue reaching $38.9 billion in the first fiscal quarter of this year. For the latest tech news, follow me on X at Chuck Palm.
There's lots to cover in Friday sports. Let's get after it with America in the Morning's Robert Workman.
The Eagles soared past the Commanders 26-18 last night to kick off Week 11 in the NFL. They lead the NFC East and are just a half game behind the Lions in the conference race. After trailing 10-3 early in the second half, Philadelphia scored on 4 straight possessions, including 2 touchdown runs by Saquon Barkley, 23 and 39 yards. Sunday, we get 2 games that look like potential AFC playoff clashes, the Ravens and the Steelers in an early game, the Chiefs and the Bills in the afternoon. Week 12 in college football could be wild. Each of the top 4 teams is playing on the road tomorrow, including top-ranked Oregon at Wisconsin. NBA just 1 game. The Jazz got by the Mavericks 115-113. NHL, the Lightning struck the Jets 4-1, ending Winnipeg's 7-game winning streak, just its second loss of the season. Jake Gensel scored twice for Tampa Bay. Andrei Vasilevsky made 24 saves for his 300th career win. Oilers slipped past the Predators in overtime. Connor McDavid had a goal and an assist to become the 4th youngest and 4th fastest NHL player to reach 1,000 points. Wayne Gretzky is number 1 on both of those lists. Devils pounded the Panthers. Jesper Bratt with a hat trick.
Do everything I can every single shift to do my part for the game, and whatever it is, being good in D zone or in neutral zone or scoring goals, I just try to find my way.
Overtime wins for the Sabres and Flyers. Wild blanked the Canadiens, 19 saves for Philip Gustafson. Rangers, Stars, Islanders, and Kraken win. And in baseball, the Rays announced they will play the 2025 season at Steinbrenner Field in Tampa. That's across the street from Raymond James Stadium where the Buccaneers play. Tropicana Field was damaged by Hurricane Milton last month, should be ready by 2026, while the new stadium they're building for the Rays is set to open in 2028. That's Friday Sports.
Thank you, Robert. Not your average bear. Cops catch the pranksters. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Welcome back. Honoring a musical legend, as the papers of songwriter Burt Bacharach have been donated to the Library of Congress. Entertainment correspondent Margie Zaraletta has the story.
Raindrops are falling on my head. Burt Bacharach's sketches for songs like Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head and Alfie, and his arrangement for The Look of Love are among the thousands of his music scores and parts given to the Library of Congress. Bacharach died last year. His widow, Jane, says she chose the Library of Congress because it gave its Gershwin Prize for Popular Song to Bacharach and songwriting partner Hal David in 2012, and Bacharach valued it more than any other award. The collection will be available for researchers next summer. I'm Archie Zaraletta.
Wrestler turned actor Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, along with Chris Evans, chase some holiday cheer in theaters this weekend. Kevin Carr has a sneak peek at Red One.
With Christmas movies in full swing this year, it's time for one about Santa on steroids.
Let's go heavy.
Looking strong, Nick.
Red One takes us to the North Pole, where Santa Claus is kidnapped by an evil witch bent on punishing the naughty.
Reach!
Someone took Nick. It's up to Santa's bodyguard and a notorious criminal to save him and the holiday itself.
I'm bringing in Jack O'Malley. He's probably the best tracker in the world.
I get what they were thinking when they made this, which was to deliver a Fast and Furious version of Christmas.
No, it doesn't work on everything. No, you can't try it. No, you can't drive. No more questions. Now get in.
But they've stripped out all of the holiday cheer and replaced it with performative masculinity and enough testosterone to kill a bull elephant.
We got snowmen!
Dwayne Johnson and Chris Evans phone in their parts, cashing in on their blockbuster career highlights.
We need to find him. Let's save Christmas.
And the script is loaded with Yuletide movie cliches, from the redemption of a deadbeat dad to the hyper-techno upgrades to Santa's workshop. But none of it is presented in any coherent form.
Toy stores.
Toy stores what?
The supply closets are portal stations for the North Pole transit system.
There are a few decent moments. I'm looking at you, Krampus. But for a movie so focused on Christmas, there's not much Christmas spirit in it.
Interesting. My turn!
Red One gets 2 roided-out candy canes out of 5. I'm Kevin Carr, and that's the way I see it.
There's an old phrase, some days you get the bear, the other days the bear gets you. And as Shelley Adler reports, on certain days the police get you when you try to impersonate a bear, as a couple of California fraudsters find out.
The California Insurance Department says 4 Los Angeles residents have been accused of defrauding 3 insurance companies out of nearly $142,000. They claimed that a bear had caused damage to their cars, but it turned out that it was a person in a bear costume. How'd they get caught? The group provided video footage of the so-called bear to the insurance companies as part of their damage claim. Someone suspected it was not an actual bear, and after executing a search warrant, detectives found the bear costume in the suspect's home. I'm Shelley Adler.
America in the Morning for Friday, November 15th, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.